Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Art Workshop. I'm Christopher Epling. Thank you so much for checking out the video and all the tutorials that we have here on Epling Illustrations. It is Christmas time, officially anyway, as this video is being produced. People are gathering together, families and friends, and exchanging gifts and eating good food. And well, I thought no better time to put together a little tutorial on something simple and easy to do. And we're going to be looking at a very special artist today as our inspiration for our drawing. A New Yorker cartoonist, Jean-Jacques Sempé. He's a Frenchman. We're going to be looking at his work and checking out how he uses color. We're also going to be talking a little bit about materials today, what I'm using to produce the work. And if you want to follow along with me, grab a piece of paper, a pencil, and a marker, and we'll go to work. I hope you enjoy it. Now, I always like to start off talking a little bit about materials, and that's something I get a lot of questions about. For a pencil today, I'm going to be using something a little different. Now, this is a colored, non-photo, Prismacolor blue pencil. This is basically, a regular pencil. It's very interesting though, because if you use this instead of at the end of a drawing, then whenever you ink it, you trace your lines you want to keep, and you're tracing over the pencil that you've used, the pencil lines that you've made. That can be a very messy task. You can leave graphite on your artwork when you scan it. So what happens though with the pencil like this is that the scanner will not pick up the blue. So I like to use this color just because it saves a lot of time. So when I'm doing illustrations or cartoons for the newspaper, then I want to save time. So using a non-photo blue pencil works great. And so we're going to be using a version of this, but our version is going to be coming in the form of a regular mechanical pencil. This is just a big mechanical pencil that you can find anywhere. But it has blue lead, so we're going to be sketching out in blue, but it's going to be in the form of a mechanical pencil. So all that means is instead of the graphite inside being the typical gray, it's blue. So we're going to be using that. We're also going to be using a regular pencil. This is a mechanical pencil with graphite, regular graphite in it. It's a number. It takes 0.7 lead, so it's a little big. The lead is. So we're going to be using this to trace over our blue. Then at the end, when we're finished, we're going to be using a brush pen. This is a Kuretake brush pen. It comes basically, the ink is inside a reservoir inside of it, and instead of dipping our brush into a ink reservoir every time we use it, or something with ink in it, we're going to be using this, which holds the ink inside it. This is a great pen to use. Any of you want to purchase something that will benefit you greatly in cartooning, I highly suggest a brush pen of any type. I like the smaller tips for the brushes though. And then of course we're going to be using an eraser. That's our best friend really with this work. And then at the very end, to add a little bit of color, we're going to be using something pretty interesting here. What this is a some of these are Faber-Castell, the other are a brand called Generals, and these are basically watercolors, I guess you could say. They're graphite, but you can put water on these, and when you do, the water will actually cause the graphite to spread like watercolor. So that's how we're going to be adding a little bit of shading to our drawing. And instead of using a brush to dip in each time, we're going to be using one of these. It's an aqua pen. So basically this is all water inside, clear water, and the tip is just like the Kuretake tip, okay, in the sense that it's a brush, but it's synthetic, meaning that it's fake. You can get one of these fancy brushes with what's called sable hair, which is actually real hair that they place in the form of the brush, but these two are synthetic. It means they're fake, right? So, but they still do the job quite well. So there's our tools. Now, to talk a little bit about the artist we're going to be referencing today, I kind of mentioned his name at the beginning. His name is Jean-Jacques Sempé. He's French. Well, he did a lot of work for the New Yorker. And I want you to look at his style of art. You see, it's really rough. There's no real clear lines. It means that it doesn't look like something you'd see in, let's say, Marvel comics or anything. The line is squiggly even. If you look really close, you could see how his lines are they almost move around. They have a lot of movement to them. And this in particular was what I wanted us to focus on. Now notice how Sempé uses a pen and ink here. I'm assuming maybe a nib or maybe even a very fine brush, but I'm guessing it's probably a nib pen. But he's drawn out this really funny cartoon here using these little squiggly lines, not a lot of detail. See how he's missing portions of the person's body even in the window. So he's a minimalist, meaning that he doesn't put all this detail, all this minute detail. But look how he's used just a little bit of color to accent that gift that the man gave his wife. And I love how he uses that in the sense that it's very, very conservative. Here's another one of Sempé's larger drawings. And you can see by this, the people are sort of just sketched in, really rough. But you get the idea of what this is. This is New York City, I'm guessing. And these are pedestrians walking the streets of the city. So if you want to check out more of his work, though, just Google. It's Jean-Sempé. Look at the line work. That's just amazing. All of this pen and ink again, cross hatching everywhere, very loose lines. I really like it. I really like his work. So let's try to do something in that type of area today. So I hope everyone is ready. I hope you've grabbed your paper, have your paper ready, because we're getting ready to start. Now I'm going to use a piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to place that down here. The reason for that is at the end I'm going to be using water on this drawing. So we're going to start out with our non-photo blue lead or pencil, and we're going to be sketching out this design. Very lightly on my paper, or on this this watercolor paper, I'm going to draw a circle here. I don't know if you can see that very well. Then you're going to add a shape at the bottom that kind of looks like a Hershey kiss. Okay, so or a candy, one of the candy corns from Halloween. Okay, so you have a circle up here, and then you have one of these like candy corn shapes. Down at the bottom, what I want you to do is go ahead and put two ovals. So put an oval here, and then an oval behind that oval. They're overlapping a little bit. Now I hope you can see that. If you can't, I'm going to go over it in a second. Right here we're going to have another oval coming out from below the circle right there. Once we have that oval drawn, we're going to put a smaller oval here. We use a lot of circles and ovals. This is called the Marvel method. I talk a lot about it in my work. So this is our basic concept for our drawing. We've just about finished everything that we need to do here. And what we're drawing is going to be Santa Claus, but we're going to be adding those accents in. So now, just to go ahead and finish out what the basic parts of the drawing, I'm going to put a circle, or an oval down here at the bottom. Okay, and notice how far up that is. His feet are here, and the oval is right above it. Then over to the main right, over here, we're going to start putting in the details for the drawing. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to draw this shape that comes out like this and back in, right where his hands are. It comes out and back in, so that's our one shape. Draw a straight line coming down. I hope you can see the blue. The blue's very, very light. We're drawing him hanging up his jacket. Okay, so he's finished giving out all the toys, and now he's hanging up his coat for the night. Now, going straight down through our drawing here is going to be a line, okay? And I hope my line is straight. I'm drawing sort of from an angle a little bit. So there's one line, and then our second line here. Okay, so there's two. So there's two lines, and you imagine he's running straight through the coat, right up to the top. Then up here at the top, we're going to put his hat. So we're going to draw another oval here. Okay, and we're going to draw his hat sitting on the top of the coat rack. So it's going to be dangling from the top. And then there's the little fruff of I don't really know what that is on his jacket, but that's Santa's hat, okay? Or his hat, I mean. Now his arm comes down. He has another fruff of fur here, I'm guessing, right? This is his jacket. So you can see now Santa Claus is placing his jacket onto this coat rack that's standing in front of him, okay? And there's a reason we're going to be doing this, and I'll explain it to you in a second. So now I'm drawing the bottom of the coat rack. Now with Sempé's work, he's a minimalist, so he doesn't use a whole lot of detail. And we're going to try to do that here with our work. Okay, so we're going to put a straight line here, another straight line below it, Gonna seal that off. We're gonna make like a little window here for Santa to look out of. Nothing too elaborate, just a little shape here at the top, rounding it off here, and then we'll, in a little bit, what we'll do is we'll add the window panes. Well, we can go ahead and sketch them in a little bit. So there's some window panes here that Santa Claus can look out of. Okay, so there we go. And then the straight line that we're going to put at the bottom is our perspective. So he's standing back against the wall a little bit, so the line should go straight through the drawing all the way through. This is the floor, like that. So now we have our basic shapes. I know I'm going sort of fast, and I apologize for that, but now I'm going to darken it in a little bit and start putting in detail. So maybe if you haven't started yet, this is a good time to go ahead and jump in. So we'll start up here with Santa Claus' head. Now, he's facing the coat rack, so the line is going to be right here that goes straight down his head, okay? That means if this is the front of his head, then his nose would come out like this. So there's Santa Claus's nose, okay? And he has his beard, his mustache first, right? Coming down, and then his beard here, right? So if the mustache comes back, it's going to go up to where the ear is. But we're going to go ahead and draw in his beard. Not a big beard, something small. Up at the top here, we're going to draw his ear. So there's Santa's ear. Notice here's his nose, there's his ear. Okay, usually it's in proportion with the eyes, and we're going to do that. We're going to draw a straight line coming out like this, and we're going to give Santa Claus some glasses. So there's one lens, and the second lens we can barely see on the other side. Okay, so there's Santa Claus' face. Now we're going to go ahead and draw the top of his head coming back. And we'll make him bald on top. That's because I think it's funny. Then on the back, we're going to put some hair. We're actually going to give Santa Claus his hair. So when he has his hat on, you know, he looks like he's got a full head of hair, but in reality, Santa uses Rogaine a little bit, which is fine. There's no shame in that. All right, so there's Santa, right? Santa Claus is pretty much finished. Now we're going to work on his body. We're going to start over here, draw a line down. Now there's a reason we're doing this. He's got a tank top on that we're going to be drawing because we want to see his arm for a special reason later we'll tell you about. This is going to come down. This is Santa Claus' back. Now notice this. Remember this big candy corn shape we made? Well, there's a reason for that. That's his body. So it's going to come down to about right here on both sides, and you're going to seal it off. Okay? That's his shirt. See? There's Santa's shirt. Now the next thing we're going to do is work on his pants. We'll give Santa Claus his belt coming through here, all the way through to the front, and then a buckle. We can see a little bit of a buckle here. Alright, then his pants come down both sides, coming down to the leg. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on this back leg first. So the line comes down like this and stops. Now we're going to work on the front leg. It's going to come a little line like that, and then it's going to come down and stop. Now in the front, it's a little different. The line actually comes all the way in like that. See how that works? So Santa's standing there, putting his jacket up on his coat rack. He still has the rest of his uniform on, so we got to draw the ruffs of hair here at the bottom on each side of his boot. So there's those two things. We can erase these lines later. Draw a straight line coming down for his shoes. The shoes are going to be really simple, except we're going to add a buckle. So we put like a little square there. It's kind of hard to draw. This is all about perspective, but as long as you have something here that resembles a buckle, you're in good shape. So there we go. Santa Claus is standing there, part of him anyway, putting his jacket on the rack. Let's work on his arm now. Alright, so the arm comes down on each side, in towards the elbow. Here's the elbow. Once you have that, you're going to draw his arm coming out on each side, and he's going to be putting his jacket up on the rack. So we're going to first draw his thumb here. Okay, and then we're going to draw his fingers. Now once we start actually putting this together and inking it, you'll see how the style comes out from Sempé. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right too, the artist we reference, but maybe not. So we're going to draw the fur going around the top of his jacket, just these little jagged lines. Don't draw through your, be careful not to draw through your coat rack though. There's the top of his jacket, and we have a line coming down making up back part of his jacket, and then here we have some more fluffs of this fur, the white fur. Okay, and that's going to go all the way up here, and then we have the dots, of course, making up Santa Claus's jacket. Put a few on there, right? The buttons. The arm for Santa's jacket comes down, and we got a fluff here for the arm, and then we're going to draw the back part of his jacket coming down like this, and circling back in. So see how that resembles a jacket. Now he's taking off his jacket. Up here we have fluffs of hair on his hat. He's already placed his hat onto the rack, and then of course it's dangling from the top of the rack here. So here's a fluff of hair here, fur I mean, sorry. Alright, so now we're going to draw two lines coming down, making up his coat rack down to the bottom. Okay, those are important because in a little bit we're going to be shading this in. Here's another line coming down to make the other foot of the coat rack. And then one you could barely see here coming out towards you like that. So there's his coat rack. Go ahead and draw the floor in behind him, sketch it in a little bit more. This oval is a stool. So what I mean by that is we're going to color that in a little bit. We're going to put some lines through it, give it a little bit of texture. Okay, and we're going to put a couple of these little foot rests that come down, the legs of the stool coming down, and we'll put 3, and we'll draw some lines in between them. Okay, like this. There we go. We have a stool. Now the window. For the window, it's really simple. A straight line, another straight line, seal that off on each side. Put a little line at the bottom just for the heck of it. Now we're going to make this oval shape come around and down. Okay, now for the window panes, notice how I've already drawn these 2 lines coming down and then these lines across. What I did that is because I'm actually tracing inside of these to give it this effect. Okay, and I'm not trying to make this perfect. I want it to look a little rough. I want it to look simple, kind of, and you know, just thrown together like that. Okay, there we go. We got Santa Claus putting up his jacket, and now what we're going to work on is inking this. There's a couple parts of this that will remain black, and we'll go ahead and fill those in as we go. Okay, so if you don't have a brush pen or anything, you don't need one necessarily. Just grab a marker. So I'm going to trace all this in now. Okay, this is watercolor paper, so you can see that it reacts to the ink a little differently. What I mean by that is if we were doing this on copying paper, the ink would look really, really shiny, and it would absorb it a little less than what it is now. And the good thing about the brush pens is you can push down harder and get a thicker line like this, and then you can also barely press down and you can get a nice little line. Notice how I'm drawing, or I'm inking this anyway, in sort of in the style of Sempé. Very loose lines. What I mean by loose is that they are doesn't look like it's too technical, right? It doesn't look like I'm not using a ruler, so that's pretty obvious. So nothing is really perfectly drawn. It's a cartoon, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect. And what I mean by perfect is it doesn't have to have that look that I used a ruler on every little part of this drawing. Okay, now we're going to work on Santa's body. So we're going to go ahead and put his glasses in there and his nose, the other lens, the line going across there like that. We'll barely press down now and make his ear. Okay, the top of his head comes up and then down. We have these little fluffs of hair at the top. We're going to put those in there like that. Now he's got the back part of his hair, making up Santa's hair in the back, and then these little jagged lines coming up, making up the beard, coming down like this, barely pressing down, just loose lines. Now we're going to go ahead and trace the rest of Santa's body. Now the reason he has a his tank top on is in a minute we're going to draw something funny on his arm. Okay, so that's the reason. I'm giving it away early, but that's okay. Now you're just tracing over your pencil lines. I'm still doing that. Notice you're doing it very lightly. I'm not trying to be too technical, as I said before. Sempé's work is really unique. I really encourage any cartoonist to look at it, even if it's not your cup of tea, as they say. Looking at his work, you could see how he's used lines, and he's really showing you exactly what he wants to show you. Like the city scene that we looked at, you could tell just by looking at that is some busy street in some large city, but he doesn't draw every little detail. He doesn't add every little inch of the drawing in there. And the reason he does that, I think, is because he wants you to see it without him forcing it on you to see it. you know, so you can look at it, you can tell, hey, this is a city street, and these are people walking, it's really busy, and I don't have to see like a license plate or something on every car, right? Okay, so we're finishing up the legs here, and really loose again, not trying too hard to do anything special, just wanting to get the look that this is a coat rack, right? Now, work on the rest of Santa's body, make sure all your lines are filled in. This is where you can also leave stuff out if you didn't want to put it in there, if you didn't mean to for some reason, you can leave it out, okay? Perfectly fine to do that. This is where I usually, whenever I'm actually finishing a drawing up, I may trace over something, or I may not. If I don't like the way that line looked in pencil, I'm not going to trace over it. So you have that option when you're inking, okay? So we've got the hair, or the fur. I keep calling it hair. It's fur, right? Yeah, it's fur. It's got to be fur, unless it's just, I don't know. He has a hair factory. Oh, I missed one at the top here. So it's got to be fur. Santa's fur coat. Yeah, that's what it is. Not red fur, but white fur. I'm not really sure what animal has white. Well, there's a bunch of bunny. Well, let's not get into that. Okay, so now we've inked our drawing. We've covered over the lines we want to keep. And now, as I promised, we're going to be using these pencils, which actually are a watercolor type medium. It's not exactly watercolor, it's graphite, but it's still really neat to use, right? Now, if you notice on each one of these, just like with a regular pencil, there's these markings at the bottom. And what these markings tell you is the shade of the graphite. So, just like with a pencil, you know, the scale from, there's H and then there's B. So there's 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, you know, on and on. And then there's also, if you remember, there's also H. H is light, B is dark. So it's a scale, and this works the same way. Now I have a 2B here and a 6B. The 2B is going to be lighter, of course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to barely, not really barely, but just sketch in where I want the shading to go. So you notice that I'm not coloring this in like it's going to be the final thing. It's not. This is all going to be actually, you know, watercolored over, okay? Putting a little bit of shading where I want it. Notice I'm not coloring it necessarily. It's not like I'm, you know, making these shades to be my color. It's not my color. Well, it is my color, but it's not going to be, this is not the final piece of it. So put a little bit more here, a little bit around the window, maybe some on the wall too, just a little bit. See how I'm just squiggling that in. Now I've used this is a 2B I just finished using. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker. This is going to be a 6B, which is a little bit darker, and you'll see that here as I sketch it out. It is darker. I'm not coloring over everything that I just you know, darkened in with the other pencil. I'm using this sparingly because this, like I said, this is darker. So I'm going to put it only in places where I really want it and need it, okay? The belt is going to be darker, of course. Alright, so now we have our shading placed inside of our drawing where we want it. And what we're going to do now is use our aqua pen, which is this water pen, and we're going to color over, or I shouldn't say color over, but mark over, watercolor over, however you want to say it, these dark areas. Now notice what happens when I start to do this. The graphite that I just used starts to move around. See? It starts to move around just like with watercolor. So I'm using it where I want it. It's really neat to do this, and you can actually, you know, plan this out. If we had more time with this, I could actually plan it out a lot more and could show you some different techniques to use with this. Mostly though, this is used for shading, right? So wherever you want darker areas, that's what you're going to use it for. You can use a brush with these. You can find these at hobby stores. Any type of store that carries art supplies may have these. They should. I purchased mine locally, so they should have them available for you too, somewhere locally to purchase if you have an art store. If you don't have an art store, I encourage you, if you want to use these, I encourage you to go online, look around online. You can always find art supplies at different online stores too that carry this, but you don't necessarily need one of these aqua pens. You can dip a brush in water, and it will do the same as it's doing now. I just prefer the aqua pens because it's faster. Really, that's the only reason. If you squeeze it, you're going to get more water out of it, and you can see how I'm marking over here to the side, so you can actually lighten. So see how this is dark, right? Up at the top is darker than here, and I'm wanting to connect these two a little bit. And as I'm tracing over it, I notice this is starting to get darker, so I may brush over here a little bit to get some of that graphite out of the pencil, and you know, I'm not pencil, but the brush, to get it out of the fibers here, out of the brush, so that it doesn't look as dark. Okay, so now we have Santa Claus pretty much summed up. This is it. This is about where we want it, except for the one thing that I promised earlier, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to add a something onto Santa's arm, and we'll use our brush pen, I guess, to do it. We're going to turn it over to the side a little bit because he has a tattoo, right? Santa Claus, do you believe that? I don't, but it's okay. We're going to put Mom. M-O-M and a heart. Alright, there we go. Santa Claus has a tattoo, believe it or not. Now this is actually not my concept for the drawing. This is actually something that a cartoonist did for the New Yorker, so it's, I can't really claim it, but it's still pretty funny. So I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Remember, if you're interested in submitting or showing me your version of this, I'd love to see it. Visit my website at ChristopherEpling.com or go to my Facebook page at Epling Illustrations .facebook.com or something like that. Search for Epling Illustrations, you'll find me. I hope you enjoyed this Santa Claus. Merry Christmas, and now we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Well, I hope you had as much fun as I did in today's workshop. Sometimes simple lines and simple use of color really impacts a drawing. And it was really just an honor to be able to look at Sempé's work. If you don't know much about him still and want to check out more of what he's done with the New Yorker throughout his career, just Google his name, and you'll find all kinds of wonderful and brilliantly done cartoons from this amazing Frenchman. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I'd love to see your work. If you want to share it with me, that would be awesome. Visit my Facebook page. Just search for Epling Illustrations at Facebook.com. Also Instagram, Epling Illustrations on Instagram. My store that I have where I sell sketches and online different types of things that I've done, just simple sketches mostly, nothing too crazy, is EplingIllustrations.storeenvy.com. And one more for you, check out my website if you got time, ChristopherEpling.com. Thank you so much though. I hope to see you again soon, not literally but virtually. Okay, take care and keep drawing.